We'll be doing a very important project with customer segmentation. This project is actually very important if you are in the marketing department, sales department, logistic department, and business administrative department. You need to know how to segregate your customer. Customer segregation is one very important skill, and when you have it and you are able to initiate it in your company, you will be the star of that particular company. So this is a project you have to stick with me. Watch the way I'm going to break it down so that you can actually enhance yourself with this extra skill to become super productive in your is the process of dividing your customers base into smaller manageable groups based on shared characteristics. These can include demographics, behavior, purchasing habits, interests, or other factors that are relevant to your business. Now, definitely by grouping your customers in this way, you can create targeted marketing campaign. Your marketing department can speak to each group or segment directly based on each group's unique needs. Now, what are the importance of having this customer segment? See you in an advantage to meet up with their unique needs and hence guarantee customer satisfaction. Another good importance of doing this customer segmentation or having a skill in customer segmentation is once there is a good customer satisfaction, it leads to lower churn rate. So, and also increase your customer lifetime value, thereby increasing the growth and profit of every business. So one of the major metrics used in defining how you can segment your customers are what you call the RFM analysis or RFM score. And this RFM score are recency, frequency, and monetary. And what is recency? Recency is how long the customers have actually engaged with your company. What I mean by engage is how long the customer has actually purchased or patronized your company. Okay. Second is frequency. How often does your customer come? Does your customer come once in a year? Does your customer come once and never come again? Does your customer come very regularly? So this is a very good KPI to be able to score your customer. Okay. Then monetary. How much does your customer spend? Is your customer a big spender? Is he a small spender? This way you can actually use that to segment the customers into those who are high spender, low spender, and medium spender. So with this RFM score, we will be able to determine customer segmentation. So join me, let's go right into it. The invoice date, the unit price, the customer ID, and the country. So first we need to create our RFM table. All right, so first I have to actually compute the amount spent because we don't have that table, right? So the amount spent, the total amount spent. So total amount spent definitely is the quantity of product bought multiplied by the unit price. So I'm going to put that equals to sign quantity, which is 6, multiplied by unit price. And when I click enter, you can see I have 15.3. So what I'm just going to do, I will click on this little dot here and it's going to populate it. It's going to fill it up automatic. That's what Excel does. It's called referencing. So when I double click, you can see it has filled it up automatic. All right, now let's go to the next data table. So to create a data table, what I will do is I will click any value here. I'll go to insert and I will click pivot table. So I will click a pivot table. So the next thing is to create a pivot table. So to create a pivot table, I would click anywhere on this particular data, go to insert and click pivot table. So it will show me a value here and I will choose new worksheet. So I want what I'll be doing on the pivot table to be on a new worksheet. So I will press OK, and it will take me straight to a new. You can see where I am. Let me yeah, so that it can actually show properly. So this is my pivot table. Okay, so definitely I have the fields here, and the fields here are my. Okay, now that we have our pivot table, we will start putting the values. Now first is our row. So for our row, we definitely know we have to put our customer ID, because that represents our customer's information. So we are going to take the customer ID, put it on the rows. Okay, so you can see the rows has been established. So the next thing is to look for information that we can convert to our recency, frequency, and monetary. So let's check amount spent. This is money, right? So this reflects to our monetary. So we are going to take that and put it on values. Okay, so that's monetary. So then we are going to look for frequency and recency. So recency should be date. So our invoice date, you can see it's invoice date. We are going to take that. So that's our date. So that is our recency. So we are going to fix that. The next thing is we are going to look for our frequency, the rate at which you have bought. So the invoice number actually represents that frequency, because this shows the number of times that the number of time that you have bought. So that's the frequency. So we are going to put that also this in this value part, and you can see that we have got our pivot table. So we have actually got our pivot table. So one thing I want to do is to convert this into date. Okay, I need to convert this into date. So that is, I will come back here, the count of invoice, because we cannot have count of this count of invoice date. I want to convert it into date. So I'm going to turn it into maximum value. So the maximum value means the lowest date. Okay, so I'm going to go to value field setting and click it, and I will choose max. So when I choose max and press OK, and you can see the maximum of invoice date I've changed. So from this I can now change it to short date. Okay, so now what I will do is I'm going to highlight the pivot table, press Ctrl C to copy it and put it into a new sheet. So I'm going to Ctrl V and I will release it here. So this new sheet, I can actually call it our analysis sheet. So let me click it and change it to analysis sheet. All right, now that we have this, we can now start creating other columns. Convert this to short date. Okay, so we are going to click on this column C. We go to home and we go to general. You click general and you can see, so we convert it first to number, then we take it from number to short date, and you can see the value has been converted to short date 1/18/2011. Now this is the most recent date. So this is the most recent date. So the next thing is I need to rename all the columns. Okay, so now I'm going to call that particular column where I have my monetary value, as I'm going to call it monetary. Okay, so and I'm going to change the count of invoice, and this should be my frequency. Okay, so this should be my frequency, so the rate at which the customer buys. So the max of invoice date, yet I don't have my recency, because this is just max of invoice date. So to calculate, to get my recency, I need to use what is called a dated if. Now I will use equals to dated if. Okay, and I open parenthesis. If you see, you can see that it is not opening like the other functions in Excel. This is because this dated if is almost going out. I actually like it, but we have no choice. Excel is fading it out, so but we can still use it. So now let's click this little icon here. So when you click it, it's going to open a place where it will tell us what it does. So for dated if, what it asks is we put the start date. You can see start date, we put the end date, and we put the unit. Do we want to calculate the date in years, in month, in day? So I prefer to use day, so I will use D. So let's click this off. So what we do here is we need to know the start date. Okay, so but before then, for us to know the start date, we have to do something. So I have to go back for us to get the start date, which is actually this. I need to know the current date. So for me to get the current date, what I will do is I'll use equals to max. Okay, equals to max. Now you should know that the maximum shows us the current date, because you know as the dates continue to increase, 2023 you know is higher than 2022, which means 2023 is more current than 22. So definitely 223 is max, is bigger than 220. Lighting that place, I'm going to close parentheses, hit enter, and you can see. So the most current date is 12/9/2011. Okay, so now that I have the most current date as 12/9/2011, so what I will do, I'm going to change this. This is actually my current date. So for me to get the recency in days, I need to use the dated if function. Okay, so dated if. Okay, so dated if, and you can see we already know that we are going to take what we are going to take first, the max date and the current date, then we will take also the day. Okay, so now what is the start date? So the start date the start date is this value, okay, from the max of invoice date. So when I write dated if, I'm going to pick the start date before the current date, and I will pick D, which represent day. So now what I need to do is to take C4, because C4 is actually the start date. So the current date is what? E4. So I'm going to take E4. As you can see, when I take them, it's going to highlight here. So when I take those two values, the next thing is I will pick day. So day represents D. So, and I'm also going to put it in quotes. Okay, in quotes, double quotes. All right, so when I have this, the next thing is to hit enter. So when I hit enter, it has actually give me the most recent day, which is 3/25. So the next thing I will do is I'm going to drag this down. I'm going to drag this down to populate this column. So when I double click it, you can see I have dragged it down to populate. So now we have our monetary score, frequency score, and recency score. So these are the next value we are going to do. So what we need to do is we are going to rank it. Okay, so to rank it, we are going to use the percent rank. Now one thing is that when we rank these scores, we are going to add them up to get what I call our RFM score, right? All right, so first let's equate this value. So we are going to use the percent rank function in Excel. So percent rank dot inc, this is the one you use. Okay, so you open parentheses. All right, so you are going to take the first value, monetary. We come to monetary. So monetary is B4. So we are going to write B4 into, then that's a double column. Then we are going to put in the last value, and the last value is B4377. Okay, where you can see it has been highlighted, means I've taken the whole range. Now I'm going to use comma, then the next value is X. All the X means the first value on the particular column we are working on, which is monetary. So the first value is B4. So I'm going to write B4. Okay. Then it says at the end, it said we have to put significant. So I only just want one significant figure. Okay. So I'm going to close the parenthesis and I'll click enter, and you can see it gives me 0. So definitely also I'm going to multiply this by 10 because it's giving us in percentage. So when I hit it, also I have this value. Then don't forget, if I want to drag it down, I need to turn this value into absolute reference. It means that this value is going to stand while every other one will move as we go down the column. So because of that, I'm going to use absolute referencing. So I'm going to add $sign to it, but you can also add F4. So let me add my $sign before the alphabet, and $sign if this I'm doing it manually. So $sign before the number. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing here. Also, I'm going to add $sign before this alphabet, and $sign before this number. Okay, so as you can see, I've locked it. Means if I move it down, this value will always remain the same. It's not going to fluctuate. So now I can hit enter and I still have my 0. Okay, because we also have our monetary as 0, so everything is going to be 0. So there's no rank there. So now let's double click and it's going to fill automatic. So when I double click, you can see it has actually filled, and when I click anywhere in the value, you can see this value remains, so it does not change. Okay, so that's the essence of using absolute references. It's going to go down without this value changing, but every other value will actually change. So that's how we get the percentage, the monetary score or the rank of this money. Now the next thing is, let's do the frequency score. The same thing, we are going to use equals to percent rank dot inc, the same method. Okay, so dot inc, I'm going to open parentheses, then I'm going to come down to frequency. So the frequency, the first value we have here is what? D4, right? So I'm going to use D4. So when I do that, you can see it's highlighted here. Then I'm going to double colon. Okay, then I'm going to pick the last value. The last value on that same column is D4377. Means I have 4,377 rows. Okay, so now I will put a comma. Then the next thing is I will take the first value, which is X. So the first value is what? D4. So I'm going to take D4. All right, then I'm going to put also a comma and take the significance. So the significant is 1, just to correspond with what I've done in monetary scores. So then the next thing I'll close the parenthesis, and you can see. So just to make it easier, I'm going to actually put the absolute reference immediately by putting the $sign before the alphabet and the $sign before the number. So that is going to lock it up. Or you can use F4 in your case. Okay, so I'm going to close this. Also, I'm going to close this. All right, so when you have that, then I will multiply everything by 10. Okay, so I can have a value is a whole number. So when I click enter, and you can see I have 0 here, but when you look at the formula, you can see that everything is rightly done, so we have no problem. So I click 0. So the next thing is I will double click and it will populate it. Okay, so now the next step, we're going to calculate our recency score. Now, because this value of recency, this 325, is not actually the most recent value, you can see it's 325 days. So we are going to use something different. We are going to subtract everything from 1 to give us the most recent. So that's why our formula will change here. So we are going to use equals to. Okay, we open our parenthesis and we put 1. All right, 1 minus the whole formula. So any value we get will be our most recent value. Okay, our most recent date. All right, so now we are going to put in our same formula, pass value F4. So we are going to use F4. You can see it's highlighted. Okay, we are taking a colon. All right, then we are going to take the last value, and the last value is F4. Is I'm going to put the significance, which is 1, and don't forget that I have to lock these values. Okay, so I'm going to put a $sign before that value. So $sign before the F sign and $sign before the 4. Also, I'm going to put a dollar sign here just to log this also. So I'm going to have a dollar sign here and also a dollar sign there. All right, now the next thing that I've locked this, so I'm going to put close it. Okay, so don't forget we already have one parenthesis here, so which is open, so which means we are going to have double parenthesis that will be locked. So we are having double parenthesis there because of this 1 year, right? All right, now we are going to multiply that by 10 and we click enter. You can see we have 1. So what we do is we double click it and it's going to fill up automatic. All right, now the next thing, now that we've got our monetary score, and so we can actually add them up and calculate our RFM. Okay, so our RFM score, we are going to take it horizontally. Okay, so this is going to be equals to sum, okay, sum, open bracket, okay, sum of these whole values. Okay, so that is G4 to I4, right? So we close parenthesis and we hit enter. So that gives off 1 because 0 plus 0 plus 1 is 1. All right, then we can now take it vertically downward. So by clicking, double clicking, and it's going to fill automatic. Now this is great. So now that we have this, the next thing is to also create the RFM score. You know, this is just RFM. Now we want to create the RFM score because we have to also use the percent rank. Okay, so now I'm going to increase the column. So let's create it. That's equals to percent rank dot inc. Okay, we open parenthesis. Then we have to put the values. The array means from the first value, which is what, which is the same thing as J1. So I'm going to write J1, and you can see when I put that, it's going to highlight. Sorry, it's going to be, I'm going to take the first value, which is J4. So J4, and you can see it will highlight. Okay, I put my columns, and I'm going to take the last value, which is J4377, just as we have done it earlier on. So I'm going to have a comma. The X means the first value, which is what, J4, and we take another comma, and with the significance, so I'm going to put dollar sign before the alphabet and dollar sign before the number. Okay, you can use F4 just as I've said earlier. So I'm going to do it for the two different values. Okay, dollar sign before the alphabet and dollar sign before the number. So I'm doing mine manually. You can do yours by just clicking F4 and it will go. So click, so when I have all this value, I click enter, and you can see my RFM score is 0. So what I will do is I'm going to double click it, and it's going to populate it along vertical lines. So now that I'll be able to get the RFM score, then from here we can now get the customer segmentation. So we have arrived at what we are actually looking for, the customer seg. So now I'm going to use VLOOKUP to impute this value with the customer segment. So instead of me having all this value, I'm only going to have these 10 different values. Okay, now let's go. I'm going to use VLOOKUP. So I'm going to write equals to VLOOKUP. So this is going to show you how to use VLOOKUP. Okay, so I'll open parenthesis. Now it's asking the first argument is the lookup value. So the lookup value is the first value, which is 0, and that is K4. So I'm going to write K4, then comma, then table array. So this is the table. So I'm going to click this table. All right. So this is my table, comma. So the next value means I'm going to choose the column index. So this is the first index and this is the second index. Okay, so I'm going to write 2 as my second index, and definitely the last value, I want exact match. Approximate match is true. I don't want an approximate match. I want an exact match. And so for exact match, it is false. So I'm going to write false here, F-A-L-S-E. All right, and don't forget, when I close parentheses, I have to make these absolute references before dragging it down. All right, so by now you should be used to absolute references. So I'm going to put the dollar sign before the N and the dollar sign before the figure. All right, same thing. I'm going to put the dollar sign before the alphabet, and I'm going to put the dollar sign before the number. Okay, so this way I've locked it. So now I can click enter. When I click enter, you can see immediate attention. This is because the RFM score is 0, and you can see here 0 immediate attention. So this particular customer need immediate attention. So this way we cannot have issues. So this way you are going to reduce your customer churn. So now what we do is I'm going to double click, and it's going to fill it up, and you can see 9 top customer, 5 loyal customer, 9 top customer, 5 loyal customer. So our VLOOKUP worked perfectly. So now that we have this, we can actually go one step further and do a visualization. Visualization is easy for people to understand all what you have done. So in most projects, always try and ensure you have visual. So what I will do is I'm going to click on this particular column, the RFM score, to the customer segmentation. So what you do is you hold your control and you click this. So both of them will be highlighted at the same time, just as it is here. So the next thing, I will go to insert, and I'll go to recommended chart. So when I click it, it's going to take some time, and Excel is going to give us the best charts that will work for this. So you can see some of RFM score segmentation. So this is what we call an horizontal bar chart. It's different from the vertical bar chart. Okay, so it's the same thing. So I click OK. I actually like it, right? So I'm remove this, then I'll make it bolder, so we can see it very well. So I'm going to make it bolder. Okay, now you can see from the pivot from the chart, you can see that top customers actually have a good height, which is good. Loyal customer, because the height or the length, want to ensure that you keep your customer and increase your customer lifetime value, then definitely you still need to have attention on, even if they are small, if the charts here are small, if the customers are few. So this actually will show you how your customers are standing. So for this particular business, they are doing well because the loyal customer is very high, the top customers is also high, and the one that needs attention is a little bit on the medium side, and the immediate attention are low. So thank you so much to be able to stand out as one of the employee in your company. So thank you so much. I'll see you in the next video. Don't forget to like, share, and also subscribe our videos. Have a nice day. Bye bye.